Good afternoon. Welcome to Carol's Books and Storytime. I have something for you today, and it's called Lessons from a Tomato Plant. Eagerly, I pulled my father through the patio doors of my small house into my equally small garden, and proudly pointed out my neat cloches containing lettuce, cucumbers, courgettes, radishes, and all things good for salad. I pointed out my broad and runner beans and the peas climbing up their sturdy canes. His expert eye took in my tiny garden and came to rest on my tomato plants in their yellow grow bags by the back door. I dragged him over to them, exclaiming proudly, "They're doing really well, Dad, aren't they? They're so big and so bushy." But instead of agreeing with me, my father strode over to the plants and, to my horror, started breaking bits off and pinching out the beautiful little yellow flowers. "Dad," I exclaimed, "what on earth are you doing?" Girlie, that was his favourite name for me. "You'll never get any good tomatoes from these plants unless you prune them hard and keep on pruning them," he replied in his soft tenor voice. I knew that my dad knew best, having studied farming and gardening at Flock House in New Zealand. His allotments and gardens always grew an abundance of vegetables for our table throughout the year as I was a child and a teenager. I can remember carrots straight as a die and measuring 12 inches long. We were not metric in those days. They came out of the red volcanic virgin earth of the mission station at Autumn in Nigeria. Yes, Dad knew what he was talking about when it came to gardens and growing vegetables. The protests died on my lips as I followed his instructions and pruned the tomato plants really hard. "Now they should yield an abundance of fruit," Dad purred with satisfaction. "Why is that?" I asked, staring sadly at the pile of small branches that littered the patio. "Because the strength is not going into the greenery now. Instead, it will go into the flowers and then the tomatoes. Remember to keep pruning and taking out the smaller fruits to give the larger ones a chance to grow. Remember, you only need a few trusses per plant." Then my father proceeded to relate the pruning to life. "In order to have a life of abundance," he said, "we need to make choices. Sometimes we have to prune back hard the things we do not really need in order to thrive and reach our goals. Sometimes we have to give up altogether, like the baby's fruit. For example, if you want to study medicine and you're equally good at music, you're going to have to make a career choice. Are you going to give up medicine and concentrate on a music career, or are you going to keep music as a hobby and pursue a career in medicine? If you want to succeed at something, there is always a cost to pay. You cannot study for exams and play at the same time. In this life, you have to sacrifice other things in order to achieve your goals. Take relationships, for example. If a relationship is not right for you, cut it out of your life, get rid of it. Always nourish your soul with good things. Nurture your talents and nurture your good relationships. Good friends are far and few between. All these pearls of wisdom my father passed on to me, I have never forgotten, and now I pass them on to you. Basically, what he was saying was this: if you want to have abundance in your life, you need to do both pruning and nourishing. Set your goals and be focused. Well, I hope that's made you think, and I hope you enjoyed it. Whenever I look at tomatoes, I always think of my dad and the time I thought, desecrated my tomato plants. But do you know what? I had an absolute abundance of tomatoes. And he always told me, never, never be afraid to prune back. All right, so I hope you've learned something, because I certainly did once he attacked my tomatoes. Bye.